Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader. It's Thursday. It's time to look at recent sales for the vintage collection. Not a ton of data out there. It seems like almost every eBay sale that is worth noting is related to the Ghost. So I do have some recent sales for resales of the Ghost, the HasLab Ghost. That is definitely the hot item on eBay right now. I found a bunch of different sales for not only the carded figures, not only the vehicle, but, you know, obviously the whole thing together. And oftentimes they add in the Sabine Wren and Chopper 2-pack. So you have the full set of line art card backs for the Rebels crew. I got a few autographs, or one autograph, a few vehicles. So just an interesting kind of assortment here. It wasn't a ton out there. And I think the holidays have got everyone kind of quiet on eBay. And that's true for the vintage Kenner items as well. There's just not a ton of stuff being listed on eBay right now. Maybe everyone's trying to stay out of the way of the Hakes auction. The Jeff Jacobs collection is up and active right now. Can't wait to see what those final sale prices look. All right, so we got some TVC 1.0. Here is a Woof with the rocket firing Boba Fett offer. So obviously this is the first issue, VC 24. What a great face sculpt on this figure. I really like that figure a lot. I've always enjoyed that face sculpt on that version of Woof or Klaatu, if you want to talk dirty to me. This one did sell for $100, $100 plus $10 shipping. This I thought was an interesting sale. This was actually in the UK, but it's the Kenner or Hasbro Canada version of the Rebel Commando, the Black Rebel Commando, with the multi-language name pill, Revenge of the Jedi offerless. But as you can see there in the upper left-hand corner, this is the Canadian example with the multi-language name pill there. Here's the back of the card. So interesting that it was all the way over in the UK for the Canadian version of VC 26. I thought this was a really good deal at 80 pounds. Which is $100 US. I know that only one Kenobi was looking for one of these. I think I found him one way back in the day, and then it arrived damaged. It was a real mess. But anyway, I just thought this was an interesting sale, given that this was not a Canadian seller or even a US seller. This was over in the UK for a beautiful example of the Canadian VC-26 Rebel Commando. We had a couple of different Jango Fetts that sold this past week. First was a beautiful unpunched US card that sold for $110. This was in pretty good shape overall. You know, you can see right here at the top of the card, there's a little bit of scuffing to it. So that held the price back, I guess, a little bit. Although you could argue this was a little bit high at $110. I've seen them go for under $100 lately. And then this one sold, and it's hard to tell by the photos here, but this was a cleaner example, and it did sell at $160. So both of those data points are up relative to even a few that I've seen over the last month or so, where it's gotten to be sub $100 now for Jango Fett. Typically, though, it seems like the price is anywhere from $100 to $125, but I did find a couple of data points from a couple of months ago that were sub $100. And so maybe it's just timing. I don't know. But that one did have some scuffing on it for $110. This one looked to be cleaner, although the photos were not great on it. Same US unpunched card, and that one did sell for $160. Big number there. Ponda Baba, this was an unpunched US card, and this one has come back down to earth. I mean, obviously, this one jumped up along with Dr. Evison after the HasLab Cantina was going, and once it was shown to be fully funded, Ponda Baba and Dr. Evison especially, they really jumped up in price, and now prices have come back down to earth a little bit. This one did have kind of a wavy card, as you can see there, so potentially someone's opening it to fill out their cantina. Who knows? But that one did sell for $75.80 free shipping. Here's another Grand Moff Tarkin that sold. That one sold for $130, so that's up a little bit. We saw a couple of data points recently closer to $100 or even very slightly below $100, but VC98 unpunched US card, that one did sell at $130 free shipping. Jocasta New is not one we've seen or talked about in a little bit. This was a Brian's Toys exclusive. This was still inside the box with the Velcro and the little statue, kind of a weird item. That one sold for $155.50 on 2 bids. And I mean, if you'll remember, these were over $200 about a year ago or so. And this one has definitely come back down a little bit, but still fairly expensive at $155.50. This I thought was a great deal. I almost sent this out to my Patreon supporters. I just never got around to it. I had it on my watch list. I was like, oh, don't forget to send it out today to your Patreon supporters. And I totally forgot about it. And next thing you know, it did sell. And this is a Grand Admiral Thrawn with the Rebels card back, VC 296, but it was signed by Timothy Zahn, and it already had the JSA authentication on it. So you can see there. So this is a perfect candidate to send in to CAS, Collector Archive Services, for their signature series grading. And you don't even have to pay for the authentication of the signature because it was already authenticated. You would just send it in along with the JSA certificate. They could either display the certificate next to it inside the grading case, or they'll send it back to you along with the graded item. So you would just pay for the grading of the actual mint on card figure. But I like the color that the submitter used for that one. It's the nice bright blue that really matches nicely with Grand Admiral Thrawn's skin there. Very cool example though. That one did sell for $111, free shipping. That to me seems like a really good deal. That seems like a really fair deal. Great candidate again to send to CAS. All right, on to the Rebels. I mean, I know that a lot of you bought multiple Ghosts, and I found one crazy person. I won't name who it is. I don't know him, so I don't want to name him. And I was going to show photos, but I was like, let's not do that. Let's not show their name. But some crazy person showed in front of their house. They bought what I think I counted it correctly. They bought 35 HasLab Ghosts. That's like $20,000 they spent. I don't know the exact number, but it's something somewhere like that. 35 HasLab Ghosts. They were all stacked up in front of his garage. And I don't know why that person did that or why they wanted to spend $20,000, but more power to them. Maybe they think it's going to go the way of the katana, but I don't think it'll happen. And that's something that we talked about over the last few months, especially when people were still buying the pre-sales for the Ghost on eBay for $700, $800, $900, crazy numbers. Well, now that they're out and in collectors' hands, there's like 20-some thousand. I don't remember the exact number, but there was a bunch that, obviously were bought, pre-ordered through the HasLab campaign. And now you're starting to see them on there. Me personally, I think that person is going to lose money on them. That's what I think is going to happen. Maybe you hold them for 20 years and they are worth something, but I just don't see it happening. But anyway, the single carded figures seem to be the way that a lot of people are selling them. They're selling off the single carded figures either individually or just the carded figures in one bundle, and then maybe selling the Ghost with no figures separately. That might be the only way that I think you could make money right now, decent money. So even the single carded figures in auctions have come down in price for a little while there. This Zeb Aurelius that you see here, he was going for between $90 and $100 once they were in collectors' hands. They've already started to come down though. So this one did sell in an auction for $75. Eris Syndulla, this one sold for $75. Kanan Jarrus sold for $91. Now, those numbers are down from even a week or two ago. They were going, Eris Syndulla and Kanan were going for over $100, $100 to $125. Now you can get them for sub $100. I think that number will continue to decrease. And now some sellers are selling them, inside the little box that they came in, which was a nice touch by Hasbro to keep the carded figures in mint condition. And so they're selling them all in one lot. Ezra Bridger, Zeb, Kanan, and Eris Syndulla all in one lot. So that's the other option, is just to sell those separately. And those are going for about $300 now. A week or two ago, they were going for $350 to $375. So the prices are coming down on the single carded figures or even the carded figures together. So keep all that in mind if you bought multiples. And, I don't know what you're going to do with 35 of them. That's just crazy. So here is the HasLab Ghost. This was an auction, in all fairness. This is probably about the low price point right now. You might get it closer to $500. This one sold for $520 plus $90 shipping. So that's $610. I think if you're patient, you can probably get it for even less. Okay. So, this had all 4 carded figures, as you can see there, plus the HasLab Ghost. And that one did sell in an auction for $520 plus $90 shipping. At least it was $90 for me. Maybe the shipping was different depending on where you are. Or if you're in Pennsylvania, you could do pickup. I don't know. But your best bet, honestly, is just to buy it through the Facebook groups. You can avoid eBay sales taxes. You can avoid having to bid. And I think that there are Facebook sellers selling it for less. And you could do pickup. You could find somebody fairly close to you. Or do an in search of post, ISO. HasLab Ghost. You can post that in the Facebook vintage collection groups to the extent that the groups allow it. And you can say where you are and say, hey, I'd like to meet up if you got an extra one. So there's a lot of people that bought multiples, and I think there's cheaper ways to do it than buying it on eBay personally. Here was another one. This one sold for $643. It was still sealed in the shipper box, and it also included, as I mentioned earlier in the video, Sabine Wren and Chopper. And that one sold for $643 on 15 bids plus $70 shipping. So that's about $710 for that. And, Sabine and Chopper together go for what, 80 or 90 bucks. So I can understand it going for a little bit more than what this one went for. But at least on eBay, that's what they're going for right now. I think that number will continue to come down as people with multiples just want to get them out of their house. Next up, we've got a B-Wing fighter. The box was not perfect on this one. It did sell for $200 plus $22 shipping, but the box, again, was a little bit rough. It wasn't perfect condition. I think you're probably looking at $225 to $250 if you're looking for a mint and sealed box B-Wing pilot that is a little bit cleaner than this one was. This one did have some rubs on the box. Next up, a beautiful near mint condition Millennium Falcon, and it sold for a massive number, $940. $940. You can see how clean it was. Now, there was a little crease right there on the top of the box that you can see there by the Luke and Leia logo. So it wasn't mint, but it was pretty darn mint. It was pretty close to mint. This is probably about 85 grade condition would be my estimate on that one. But 940 is a big number. That's a really high number. I think you could probably do better than that. We've seen a few of them in the 600 to 700 range. But this one, in all fairness, was super clean. It was the Toys R Us exclusive first iteration Millennium Falcon from the Vintage Collection. Next up, we had yet another AT-AT. This one had the Empire Strikes Back packaging and sold for $645. There's been a lot of the both ESB and Return of the Jedi AT-ATs for sale, and a lot of clean ones as well. This one was pretty clean. It looked like it had some issues on the box on a couple of spots right there by the ESB logo. But that could be shadows. I don't know. But that one did sell for $645 plus $58 shipping. And then here was a Return of the Jedi packaged AT-AT that was listed for $650. This seller had two of them, and they both sold pretty quickly. So that just gives you a couple data points. Usually the Return of the Jedi AT-AT goes for a little bit less, but this seller is kind of known to sell stuff for a little bit more expensive. And usually they're in mint condition, not always, but usually. So that they tend to command a little bit higher of a premium relative to some random seller. But this one did sell for $650 with $2 shipping as well. It was like pretty cheap in terms of the shipping. And now let's finish things off with a few graded items. First was an AFA uncirculated 9.25 VC334 Darth Vader. So very high grade. This is the reissue, obviously, but a big number there. 9.25 uncirculated gold level. That sold for $180, even though it's a fairly recent release. So that's kind of a surprising number there. But we've seen a couple of data points for the Stormtrooper, R2-D2, and Darth Vader in high grade from AFA uncirculated that have gone for big money. Next up was this is the Speeder Bike Pack-In Scout Trooper Archival Case AFA 90. This one actually had the 3-tier grading, not the modern 1 through 10 grading. 90, 90, 95 for the Speeder Bike exclusive Scout Trooper. And that one was a beauty. And that one did sell for $157.77 plus $7 shipping. We had a Boba Fett with the chest plate sensors, as you can see there. So this is the corrected running change version where they added back in the chest plate sensors, uncirculated 9.25. This seller had 7 of them available, or excuse me, 8 of them available, but 7 of them have sold. 7 of them at $240. $240 is what they've been selling for. And that's a huge number for a fairly recent release. And this is the corrected version with the chest plate sensors. This one wasn't even an error where it's missing the Wookiee braids or anything. But uncirculated 9.25, this seller had 8 of them. 7 of them have sold at $240. $240 plus $15 shipping. That's $255. Massive number for the VC-186 Boba Fett. And then finally, we had an Attack of the Clones Phase 1 Clone Trooper. This obviously is a re-release or recent release. Phase 1 Clone Trooper AFA 9.0. And that one sold for $122.99 plus $11 shipping. So just, you know, I don't usually like to cover graded items that much, but these are the ones that sold here recently. I was really mostly surprised about that Boba Fett. That was a massive number. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave me a like if you did enjoy the video. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll be back soon.